Hey everybody, I think by this point you guys know that I love to record in all my drums by hand so that I can get that beautiful inaccuracy of a human being imprinted on my drums. But if you're just working with a MIDI controller that has some pads, or like in my case, if I'm just recording it on keys, it can be tough to get the rhythm just right, especially if you're working on something a little bit more quick, like, 16th note hi-hats or something like that. So today I'm going to show you guys an easy way that you can avoid all of that and stay in pocket. Drummers, of course, spend years and years honing their technique so that they can play accurately, and then they can also add all these complex nuances that make the beat more interesting. But you and I, the non-drummers, can take advantage of that by sort of siphoning their skill set, like the Monstars in Space Jam. But this is all about how good drummers place their kicks, their snares, and their hi-hats in relation to the grid, because all of that ends up mattering in how it translates to our ears. Like if you're doing the J Dilla thing where you pull the snare super early. What I want you to do is just find some isolated drums from a drummer that you love. YouTube is fantastic for this, but use anything. If you haven't checked out the Drum Bash channel from Thomann, it's awesome. And there's a segment called Groove Hunter where they basically break down grooves from famous songs, and that's what I'm gonna use today. I really like this one from Questlove, which goes like this. And what I'm going to do is convert it from audio to MIDI. So in Ableton, the easiest way to do that is just to hit convert drums to new MIDI track, and it will create an 808 kit for us that has all of these little MIDI notes done for us. Now what I want you to do here is to export the MIDI clip into a dedicated groove folder on your computer somewhere. So I have one called Grooves, and I've saved this as the tempo, which is 81, and the drummer, which is Questlove. You could do Questlove 1 if you plan on doing more of those, which I probably do. You just hit save, and now whenever you bring this back into the session, you've got the hi-hat, the snare, and the kick pattern all ready to go exactly as it was played. And then when you pull in the groove back into the session, you can actually just delete the kick, snares, or hi-hats and just use whatever you actually need to use. But for this particular technique, what we're gonna do is get rid of this 808 kit, and I'm going to separate out the tracks by duplicating the MIDI track that we originally had. Okay, so if we call this the kick track, this the snare, and this the hat, now we're going to have control over each one of these hits, and we can replace the samples instead of having an 808 kit, right? So one important thing that we're going to do now is I want you to highlight the kicks, and I want you to make sure that they're on C3, because that's going to play the correct pitch of the sample on each one of these. Okay, so this is a D3, I'm going to change that to C3, and then the hat is on F#1, and we'll go up an octave and down until we get C3. So here's where the technique comes in. I have a kick, snare, and hat already set up here. Now we're just gonna drag the kick track to the kick, and the snare to the snare, and the hat to the hat. And now, check out how this sounds with our drums on it. So the really cool thing about this is that now it's like Questlove is playing all of our samples in our drum kit in our song. Or maybe it's Simon covering Questlove playing our drums in our song. And this is always going to sound a little bit more interesting compared to quantized drums that were just clicked in. And I'm going to do a quick comparison for you so you can hear exactly how different it is. Let's quantize all of this. I feel like I'm breaking my own heart here a little bit. Where if you compare that to where we were before, one thing I really try to encourage everyone to do is to start your beats in different ways. And so if you can start with a groove like this and see what you're inspired to create, you'll often surprise yourself with your own creativity. And just to show you guys, I started with the same exact beat that we just had from Simon, and here's what I came up with just from that groove alone. it's really flexible too. You can just keep the hi-hat groove if you want to make a different drum pattern or whatever, but you still got the way that he played it, which I love. Once you develop a collection of these, you can start inserting them and even modifying them based on whatever it is that you need, which is awesome. It's a really great way to save time with patterns that have already been mastered by people who have been doing it way longer than we have. And the other thing that surprised me about doing all this is that I learned a lot about all of these little things that great drummers add into grooves to make them a little bit more spicy. So start collecting those, and let me know if you have any questions down below. I'd be happy to answer. And let me know how you get on with it. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.